Hi everyone. Today's topic is going to be one of probably a two-part series for you as agents because there is so much confusion and there is also a lot of I don't know what we're going to do, being scared, don't know how to handle the change, a lot of unknowns out there. Some of you have great brokers and they're already addressing this with you. Others don't have brokers addressing this with you, or your brokers aren't as sure either and have not made what their company policies are. So I'm going to start this conversation today about the forms that you need to get familiar with. And these forms are the most important of the changes, as well as the fact of just a suggestion of the order in which to use them. Now remember, you are to always go to your broker and you are to ask your broker what their policies are. I'm Missy Stagers, broker owner of MStagersRealtyPartners, and I am speaking on behalf of my knowledge and how we will handle this at our firm. So let's move forward with what are the forms that you've seen come across that you need to be aware of. Also, if you have not watched your video from the San Antonio Board of Realtors, then you might want to go back and watch the video from Will Curtis. It is well done. And it is also telling you that as of the 17th, there will no longer be commissions or any other structure in reference to co-broke fees in MLS. So know that that's coming, no big deal. And I'm here to tell you guys on the commercial side of business or in farm and ranch, most of this never happened anyway. They didn't have a database with co-broke fees already listed. So this isn't like world changing or we're stepping off a cliff. It's just a change that we aren't used to. So let's preface this with, let's talk about the forms you need to become familiar with. And then in my next episode that I'll send out, I'll do a little deeper dive and hopefully answer lots of questions that I've seen flying around with different ideas. First and foremost, the change that came about that is important to know is that as a buyer's agent, you will not go show property without having a discussion and an agreement signed with your client. And that agreement is what goes through and defines how you get paid, what are your fiduciary duties to that client for what properties or areas, and how long it is. We've been doing that forever, and it was required, but now it is really required. So if you aren't used to it, then I suggest you pull out the form and you look at the short form, which makes it easy. I'm going to recommend you follow up with the long form, but the short form, which is, and I'm using Texas Realtors forms, is TXR 1507 and 624 of 24 is the date on that. And that is the Residential Buyer Tenant Representation Agreement short form. Okay? The association came up with a great form for you all to use to represent a buyer that you haven't had a lengthy discussion with and you have not sat down with and done a buyer's consultation, which I highly recommend also. And it allows you to go show a house because you're telling them, hey, I'm going to represent you on this house. This is how I get paid. Otherwise, when you go show this house, you're just the same as you were before. You're actually a sub-agent. And I know most brokerages do not practice sub-agency. So the short form is a one-page form, really easy to get to know. I suggest you read through it. And at my brokerage, so far, we've had no problem signing. The second one is the long form Buyer Tenant Representation Agreement, and that is TX 1501. Again, the date on that is 6/24/24. That is 5 pages long. Now, the biggest difference between the short form and the long form, which again is 5 pages long, is that it spells out a whole lot more protections than the short form. And that's protections for you, the agent. So you can start a short form, but going to highly recommend after you've established your relationship and your client is comfortable that you convert that to the long form. And if you read through the long form, you will understand all the extra provisions in there that are important to have in a relationship when working with a buyer. So those 2 forms, one is new, one is not, one just had a little bit of change. I'm going to highly suggest you read, understand, and have the conversation with your buyer that you need to have your representation agreement signed. Now, we are also all supposed to be having an agency relationship conversation with the clients before you walk out the door. That is still the same. Anytime you're going to have a substantial conversation or start showing property, you should have an IDS form signed too. That's nothing new. That also opens the door for the conversation of why you need a buyer's agreement. Now let's move beyond that and let's talk about, more importantly, the other forms that you need to become familiar with when the amount of co-broke fee is removed from the MLS. So many different companies are having different ways in which you can find out what you will be paid by the other broker, whether it's something or nothing, and you have to go negotiate your fees. At my company, you will be able to go to our website under properties, see the broker compensation link, click on that, and it will take you to all of our broker compensation forms. So whatever property you're going to go see or write an offer on, we will already have there for you to find. Very simple. In all of our properties, we will have a QR code that takes you to that same web page so that it will be consistent and streamlined. The 2 forms that you need to become familiar with first is a compensation agreement between brokers. So if I'm going to charge my client a fee that allows me to also pay you, this is the form you need to get that we will have on our website, and that is TXR 2402, the compensation agreement between brokers. We'll have these forms already there so that you'll be able to use it that says what we are willing to pay, okay? Before you go either show or write an offer, usually it's when you're going to write an offer, because before then it's not important to have a form, but you're going to need to have this form to say, hey, you're going to pay me this fee, okay? And again, that's a 1-page form that says compensation agreement between brokers. It's just that simple. You need to get this form so that you know the fee is going to come from the other side, and you can show your buyer, hey, they're willing to pay me this fee, whatever the fee is, okay? So before you write an offer, you're going to get this form. Once you write an offer, then you're going to attach the addendum regarding broker fees, because this is going to become part of the contract and tell the title company how you get paid. And that is TXR 2406. On this form, both buyer and seller sign the form. It is an addendum. Addendums can be attached to the contract. This is also a 1-page form. Then how you're getting paid becomes part of the contract. Texas Association of Realtors, TR, did an amazing job of putting together this form, and so I'm going to suggest you go find it, okay? Read through it, understand it. It's really that simple. Now let's talk about if they're not offering a co-broke fee at all. Then you're going to need to get paid from the seller. And you're going to need to negotiate that and get a compensation agreement between broker and owner. That form is TXR 2401, and that is going to be important for you to get signed, because you don't have an agreement with the listing broker. You have an agreement with the owner that they're going to pay you. Then you will turn around and attach to the contract that addendum regarding broker's fees, because again, it states on here who's paying you, either the listing broker or the owner. And this also tells the title company how you're going to get paid. Both buyer and seller sign. So regardless, if it is a listing broker paying you or a seller paying you, use an addendum. It's an addendum. You can put it on the contract to let everybody know how you're getting paid. If you have a listing agent that is paying you, you want the broker-to-broker compensation agreement. If you have an owner that's paying you, you want the compensation agreement between broker and owner. So it's really simple if you just break down who's paying me. I need an agreement between whoever is paying me on how I get paid. And then I'm going to attach an addendum to the contract that lets the title company know how I'm getting paid. Also, both buyer and seller sign off on that. Hopefully I've answered some confusion and clarified some things for you. And again, just remember, MStakers Realty Partners website, under properties, go to compensation agreements. You can click on the link and you can find all of our company agreements there. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned for part 2 the next time I record another video. Please feel free to reach out to me as well. I'll be glad to help you for whatever I can.